Newsfirst, Newsline.
Hello there and welcome to another edition of Newsline. If you tuned into the news today, you would have seen, well, certain things that were seen in Sri Lanka many years ago. Those were the kind of things that the war heroes in Sri Lanka fought against and saved us from, and we tried to move forward from it. But how far have we really moved forward? How far have we come as a country given the end of the war back in 2008? And as you know, in a war there are no winning sides, only the lives lost and the memories that we take forward and the lessons that we learn from these conflicts. To discuss these matters and much more, we've got with us today the President of the United Centenary Front, Prashan De Visser. A very good evening, Prashan, and welcome to the show.
Good evening, Sean. Thank you for having me.
Prashan, you're involved in empowering the youth to enter, well, the political sphere in Sri Lanka, to bring about change. I think the United Centenary Front is all about instilling change here in Sri Lanka, and change is something that we really do need in this country. But Prashan, if you tuned into the news today and watched certain incidents that were taking place in Sri Lanka and the incidents that made it to the headlines, especially today, one might wonder, at least let me come out clean and say I wonder, as to if we are going back to where we started, not 12 years ago, but to the beginning of the 30-year war, because it was these kind of incidents that aggravated and in the end burst out into an all-out civil conflict. So when people see these kind of things, they get demoralized and they start thinking, oh, well, Sri Lanka is never going to change. How do you see this?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. And yes, those images, sparked concern once again. Look at the hate, the hurt and the racism that's going on. Sri Lanka has had cycle after cycle of violence and people being pitted against each other along ethnic and religious lines. And we've, as a country, failed to create an inclusive Sri Lankan identity, where everybody is just proud of being Sri Lankan and know that we're diverse, but that's not our kryptonite as a nation. That's our superpower. We have 4 of the greatest religions in the world in one small island, 4 cultures that have thousands of years of history just living together. And as iron sharpens iron, this should have been something that made us stronger as a nation. But somehow some groups, mainly sometimes political groups, some extremists have come in and tried to divide. And so today, even today, when people are trying to remember those who were innocent and who lost their lives in the midst of the war, just to light a candle to remember them, and in solidarity with those who are doing that in the north and east, especially in the north, just to be met with this kind of anger and hate and racism, it's discouraging. But I believe that more and more young Sri Lankans are realizing we're all one. We need to grieve when one another grieves. We need to rejoice when we rejoice. Can we, for once, start living as truly one nation and look to the future and hope for justice for all, for prosperity for all, for opportunity for all, and not just my own community, but for all our Sri Lankans. But we can get there, and I believe there is a generation that wants that to change, who are willing to be part of that change, and that's what gives me hope, and we need to fight day in and day out for that reality to be true, not just for the latter part of our life, but for our children.
Prashan, you spoke about, hope of a better Sri Lanka, but, hoping alone is not enough. We need to, pull our socks up and do something about what's happening in the country. Take, for example, the incidents that did take place today. There were certain groups involved in spreading this hate and this form of racism and religious extremism. There are certain pieces of legislation that is in place in Sri Lanka to deal with these exact same incidents, to remedy the situation, to stop the spread of hate, to show the people of Sri Lanka that, as a country, we do not tolerate this. We have the ICCPR Act, but when you look at the incidents that take place today and the way the authorities really respond to it, they don't use these laws to really stop the spread of hate. And that's what the laws are meant for. Instead, they use it to further political agendas. If there is someone against the government, they are arrested for the slightest of things that are completely irrelevant at times. So when we see this as being the commonplace or the common practice in the country, how does one respond to that? How does one instill change there?
Yeah, but you're exactly right. You shouldn't be just hoping for it. Citizens need to realize that we have a role to play. For too long, we've allowed politicians and opportunists to use divisions and hurt and pain in our society for their political agendas. A little bit of fire, they'll go and throw fuel at it and try to make it a huge issue and create so much distrust among each other. And so one of the ways that I believe even our normal citizens can make a difference is to really integrate as a society. Whether we like it or not, we are too much of a segregated society. I constantly say this, that we've done a survey when I was with Sri Lanka Unites, which I've now retired from. But we traveled across the country, and 10 years ago when we did a survey, 70% of Sri Lankan youth didn't have a friend outside their ethnicity or their religion. 70%.
70%.
70%. So now that number may have gone down over the years, but that's still, for a small island, that's not acceptable. Because when you don't have a friend, when you don't have an experience, you don't know that person's pain, you don't know what's valuable about that person or that community, and you can easily mistrust them and feel that there's a monster behind that community. And if somebody lies to you about them, there's no reason for you to doubt them because you have no experience to the contrary.
There's no reason for you to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Not at all. And at the same time, if you look at the education ministry, and I think there's about 10,400 schools under the Ministry of Education, there are only 112 schools that have Sinhala medium and Tamil medium taught under the same roof, out of 10,400 something. And so the overwhelming portion of our even education system is segregated. And so you don't have these, and the 112 schools that have that integration, they have this beautiful experience they experience the beauty of Sri Lanka's diversity. Those young children that come from those schools are less gullible to believe lies and saying you can stereotype an entire people group, an entire religious group. Based on the actions of a few, you make conclusions and you say, oh, they're all like this. That's you're gullible because you've been segregated. So how do we break that? Well, as citizens, can walk out of your comfort zone. Make relationships with people from different walks of life, different backgrounds. And then you see that you're not easily fooled anymore. You see that people are so diverse and beautiful, and you can't just assume this community is all this. And that's one component. Another way I feel that citizens can do something is before you believe a lie or believe an exaggeration or a highly charged emotional statement, ask questions. Find out, why is this person saying this? Why are they acting like this? What's the benefit for them by saying this? Or, the very important question, is this another distraction? Are the political powers that be trying to hide? How have our politicians got away with literally murder and corruption and all that so easily in a country of so many intelligent people? They're masters of distraction. They'll bring in, we hear about the kottu rotis that were supposed to make women infertile. We've heard about doctors who were doing certain things to women who didn't have children anymore. We heard about all sorts of things. Now they're not anymore. If those were real, those should have been huge issues. Well, they made it an issue just to distract people from other major crimes that were taking place. Whatever you can, sometimes you wonder, should these be headline news, or are they making these into news just to distract us from major crimes that are happening right now? While they created so many monsters to divide us, we became a bankrupt economy. We became into debt, out $52 billion in debt to the world. I'm not even talking about internal debt. We have just been devastated as a nation while all these dramas have taken place. So ask the question, why are they saying this? What's the agenda? What's the drama? What are they hiding? As citizens, we can do that. And the more and more we expose that, then they realize this trick's not working anymore. Either we deliver results or we get out and let people who are actually delivering results and are honest and transparent come to the fore.
Prashan, you were speaking about, when an incident like this does take place, ask questions. And, we've had a few programs before also where we spoke about the education system in Sri Lanka. And we don't really encourage the youth, the children in schools to ask questions. One best example would be, if a child asks a question in a school, the most common response at least would be, no, this is how it's done, shut up, sit down, this is what you learn, don't ask questions. So education system, how important is that in creating this society that you and all Sri Lankans hope and aspire to create?
I think critical thinking is crucial, and it should be a fundamental pillar in our education structure. And like you said, most of us didn't grow in an education system that encouraged that critical thinking. And we had to find that elsewhere. And if you don't find that, you're at the risk of becoming gullible. You're at the risk of just taking whatever anybody says. And at the same time, always not just asking the question and critical thinking, but the ability to innovate, or think of new solutions. And when you're always looking out, what can we do outside the box? What can we do differently? How can we find solutions driven by results? That kind of mindset can be created when you have that kind of an education structure. I don't think it's too late. We can start now. And even if the mainstream education takes a while to reform, even parents can make sure that children have that kind of atmosphere in the house. And even our small, when we work with young people, we try to ensure that kind of training, universities. And even in the workplace, a lot of people are saying they have the degree and the qualification, but they're not job ready. And more often than not, this job ready is this soft skills, this ability to engage with people from different walks of life, the ability to ask tough questions and find solutions and work together, the team spirit, and realizing that that's what makes you effective. And so we need to find alternate ways until the education system is reformed.
So, Prashan, your organization, how do you really engage with the public and take this message, this message of change, this process of change, and instill it in the youth of Sri Lanka?
Well, speaking for the United Centenary Front, for the longest time, many of us were people who were working as citizens in civil society, trying to make a change from the grassroots, from the bottom up. And I think that's very important, and we worked on it. I myself, 15 years of working with young people across the country. But you realize at some point grassroots work is important. But if you have policy level failure and policy level intentional, divisive, dangerous activities taking place, grassroots work can be undone overnight. And therefore you need to have some people go upstream to be involved in policy making. We've appealed on politicians, please don't divide and rule, please be transparent, please declare assets publicly, please have more young people and women in politics. We've been asking and asking, and we get nothing. So then for politicians, you need to start working to defeat them at their own game. They understand power. So we created our own political platform. This is not just a youth party, this is a party of any citizen, this is the People's Party. We're inviting people to come in. Let's begin and start being the change we want to see. So our whole tagline is pioneers of a new political culture. We want transparency, we want diversity, we want results, we want honesty and integrity. And here's a platform. So we created it in all 25 districts. And I'm proud to say that we can say today, if we're not the most diverse party, we are at least one of the most diverse parties. When you look at our executive council, every religion represented, every ethnicity, 50% female leadership, not just representatives, leaders who should be there who happen to be women. And leaders from Mullativ to Hambantota to Kandy to Monoragala, across this nation coming together and saying, we the people have waited for too long. Why don't we start making that change? And so we're creating this platform. Politics is a risk, it's a dirty game, people say all those things, but if you always leave it to the dirtiest among us to deal with it and become places where it's a refuge for them, then our children's future and our nation's future is at peril. And that's why I believe you've got to step up. And we're inviting people to get involved. I think it's time that we citizens who really care for this country, we're not leaving the country, but we're not going to watch and wait while it gets devastated. We need to start stepping up, and that's what this is about.
Definitely, Prashan. We'll cross over to a short commercial break and continue our discussion right after that. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Newsline live.
Newsfirst, Newsline.
Ceylon Electricity Board proposes to reduce electricity tariff by 3%, but the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka says it can be reduced by at least 27%. Sri Lanka marks 14 years since the end of the brutal war. Commemoration in Borella to remember those who died in the war obstructed. Two opposing factions exchange words. Did Sri Lanka file a lawsuit to claim compensation over the Express Pearl disaster with the wrong court?
සිංගප්පූරුවේ නඩු පවරා තියෙන උසාවිය වැරදි උසාවියක් ඒ උසාවිය වෙනත් උසාවියකට නඩුව මාරු කිරීමට සලකා බලනවා කියලා දැන්.
Trade union leader says Politicians criticizing the president must honor him for saving lives.
ඔය කියන සමහර අය මේ ජීවිතය ආරක්ෂා කරගත්තේ ජනාධිපතිවරයා නිසා.
SM Chandrasena reveals that 10 members of the SLPP are disappointed. 111 kilograms of heroin seized in the high seas off Sri Lanka's southern coast. NASA reveals why you will lose weight in Sri Lanka.
Newsfirst, Newsline.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsline Live. We're in discussion with Prashan De Visser. Prashan, you were telling us about your party and how you thought that, politics is dirty. You've heard the rumors. You've, of course, been victim of it, just like the rest of the general population in Sri Lanka. But instead of just leaving it dirty, you decided that no, there needs to be some change brought, and that's what really culminated in the formation of your party. We received a question: why is the word centenary a part of the tagline in your party or your party name?
Yeah, it's a great question. Before I come to that, I just want to say it's not just myself. It was a group or a generation of us asking. We've been doing so many work in the grassroots, but we need to change. And so it came together. And that's the beauty of it. It's not a person-centric. We are a group of people from all across the country who've come together. And I love the fact that, when I look around our team, the diversity, the Sinhala Buddhists, the Tamil Hindus, and the Muslims, and myself, a burger, we're all very different, but we have bonded together in our commitment to want to serve. And that's a beautiful thing. And yeah, we're excited for people to see, hey, let's really step up and make that difference. So why the centenary? So currently I'm 38 years old. And so we're giving ourselves, most of us are within that age range. We do have older people in the party as well, but the average age is around that. And we're looking, let's give ourselves 25 years, right? Where we want to see absolute transformation. And we set very bold milestones, 10 milestones for Sri Lanka by the time, 25-year time zone is up. So at 100 years of independence. We set these goals at 4 years ago. And we made a press announcement, we set this up, and we started building the initial building blocks for a party. Because by then I'll be 64. And technically at 65 you should be retiring. And I hope to be retiring from politics by 65. Not just myself, our entire team. And at the same time, not just retiring, but knowing that we have, you and I can't be blamed for what we inherited. We inherited civil war, we inherited corrupt, incompetent politicians, we've inherited all the mess, now a bankrupt economy. We cannot be blamed for what we inherited. But you and I will be blamed for what we leave behind for our children. And therefore, if we're going to stay in this country, then we better work hard to ensure that when we do retire, that our children have something, our children's generation have something that they can be proud of and build from there. And so it's not just a bare minimum of saying, let's just try and be a developed nation. No, it needs to be a bold vision. Finally achieving the results Sri Lanka is capable of. When we received independence, we were called the Switzerland of Asia. We were the second strongest economy, the first democracy of Asia. The whole world thought Sri Lanka was set to prosper. But unfortunately, because of divisive rhetoric and racism and prejudice and incompetence in the political arena, we've gone from bad to worse. So now we need to set things straight. So that's why we're looking at Sri Lanka at 100. We know certain politicians have tried to hijack it recently, and yeah, anybody can have their own vision. They may be in their 98 year when that happens, and that's fine, but we intend to retire by 65. And we're going to give it everything we have in these 25 years, and we hope this will be a people's party, a people's platform to come together and deliver results collectively.
Prashan, now you're speaking about a party and coming into politics, establishing power and creating change, giving rise to change in Sri Lanka. But elections are, well, we're not sure when elections will take place. Now, as a party, as a new political party looking to bring some sort of change, to gain some sort of power, to instill that change within the country, how does it make you and your party feel when elections are postponed indefinitely under the pretext that there is no money?
Well, last time I checked, we're still a democracy, and we intend to, I think it's, this is a very dangerous precedent. If you start saying that, well, we don't have enough resources and therefore we'll continue to postpone, and I believe it will not be looked kindly by all of the political parties and civil society and the international community, that's not going to go well. And I believe that they will have to have elections. And it's important that people get to speak because they've been trying to muzzle the voice of the people for so long, and they're suffering. People are talking about the stability that there is right now compared to a year ago. You give the bare minimum and you expect that to be enough for these people. And not just that, there are 36%, according to some stats, that are saying of people living under the poverty line today or living on less than 26,000 rupees a month. How can a family live like that? And so the people need to have an opportunity to go to the polls and express themselves and say, we want change. We need a fresh outlook. We need new vision. We are not going to just surrender our lives. We're not slaves. We live in a democracy. And people can't, some people might say, well, things seem to be stable. Well, stability is not good enough. We need growth. We're not paying our debt anymore. They're just kicking the can down the road and saying, you can pay it later. I just need political stability for me now. You can pay it with interest. And we're going to take more loans, by the way, just to keep it afloat and keep this stability for you. This is dangerous. People need to speak up. And they speak at the polls. And that's what's important. And if we don't allow that, we are in for more and more devastation. How would investors ever come to Sri Lanka and help us start new industry for real growth and not debt-begging growth or stability? We need growth. And if we want those investors to come, they need to know it's a stable democracy. It's a transparent nation. It's a nation that we could do business in. If you create this kind of drama, how can I, if I was a foreign investor, feel confident that my investment will go somewhere when I don't even know if the nation's going anywhere in this political instability?
Prashan, we're in the final few minutes of the show. One final question. There are those who propound this argument that, we are in a very precarious situation right now, given that the country is bankrupt and all of that. And this is no time to experiment with new politicians, new political parties. We need to stick to what we know. Technically, what they're saying in short is the known devil is better than the unknown angel. How do you respond to these people?
Well, there were times in my life as well, earlier on as a younger person, I thought, well, that may be true. Maybe this known devil will finally deliver. All what the known devil has shown us is how much more uglier the devil is each time. And so they've shown us, people say you need political experience. Well, everybody who are career politicians in this country have shown us what bad experience is like. Here's how to do things without results. The truth is that they haven't delivered. So if you're in a corporate company and you don't deliver results, your bosses are not going to give you time and time again, it's okay, you're the known guy. When I come to office, I just want to see your face. So let me continue to pay you and have you there. Let me give you the benefits. But you're not delivering. In fact, you're becoming a problem, a curse. But still, let me keep paying you because you're the known devil. That's ridiculous. And so in politics, it's the same. We are the employer as people. And so when you're employing these people, you have the right to say they are not delivering. What familiar attitude do you want? Well, not developed, bankrupt, corrupt, hiding crimes, no justice. Is that what you want? Well, then go for your known devil and get to know the devil more, and maybe you destine us to live in hell. If not, I believe it's important to start saying, hey, there are competent people. They didn't want to join politics, but they're now coming forward. Competent, intelligent, transparent, capable, young and old, coming together. It's time to bring that change.
Prashan, at the end of the day, you will have to be squaring off against these corrupt politicians who know the system and, as of now, still control the system. They can manipulate the system to be in their favor. And there are those who argue that the indefinite postponement of these elections is also one such manipulation of the system to be in their favor. And of course, well, it's a reasonable person's perspective at least. So Prashan, squaring off with these career politicians who've been in the system, who's known the system, who have all the cards stacked against you, do you think you stand a chance?
I believe not just a chance, I believe we can thrive. Because if the people stand together and start saying, okay, this is what the establishment will do, this is what the failed career politicians would do, we need to stand with the people and the people's journey to, I believe we can overcome. And the thing is that if we continue to believe, oh, the odds are stacked against us, there is no chance, so let's not try, then we're signing off our destiny for more failure. But what I do feel is we can mobilize, we can organize. Yes, you will not have the support of state media, you will not have the support of channels that are clearly supporting certain individuals and protecting people. Obviously, the establishment is not going to just give it to you in a platter when they're going to lose all their resources, all their income-generating schemes, and the risk of them getting exposed for all what they've done. They're going to throw everything at you. They'll start official mud campaigns, going after your religion, your ethnicity, your background. They'll go after everyone. Just try to do whatever they can to destroy before they start. But I'm telling you, the kind of people that we have in all 25 districts, we've made a commitment. We are not walking away. We are committed to this. And not just because none of us, this was our ambition in life. This wasn't. But we want to make sure that Sri Lanka can live up to our potential. And we have to step up. And there's one beautiful thing that happened at the Aragale on May 9th when all those goons came and attacked literally non-violent protesters. You know, they were outnumbered and getting beaten up by drunk people with batons and unmercifully devastated at the time. It was normal citizens who were working in buildings in the surrounding area that came and stood there to protect. And I believe the same is true. We need citizens to get up now. You can't just be quiet and say, well, hope it works out. People talk about politics for hours, but who will step up and do something? I believe it doesn't mean that you have to run for office. You can come and give your skills, your expertise, your support, and we're inviting you. Come. This is our country. Let's do this. We're not trying to promote one leader, one person. We're trying to promote a new political culture and create a platform for competent, transparent, highly capable Sri Lankans to come and serve and lead. A true meritocracy. And we have 3 million Sri Lankans living outside Sri Lanka. And a lot of them want to invest. A lot of them want to get involved again in Sri Lanka. Some of them will want to come back. And we're inviting, hey, come. Let's rebuild together. We don't care what background you're from, as long as you're honest, transparent, and competent, and willing to serve wholeheartedly. Let's do this together.
Thank you very much, Prashan De Visser, the president of the United Centenary Front. Of course, your ambition is pure. Your ambition is what everybody in this country aspires. And we hope that one day Sri Lanka will be the developed, progressive nation that you aspire it to be, and that we all aspire it to be. Thank you very much to all our viewers also for tuning in to Newsline. Until we meet again, that's it for today. Take care and God bless.
TV for life.
ජීවිත කාලේ පුරාවටම ලබන මිශ්‍ර ජලය පානය කළ මන්නාරම මඩුක්කරේ ජනතාවගේ පිරිසිදු පානීය ජල අවශ්‍යතාවය සපුරාගෙන ඔවුන්ගේ බලාපොරොත්තු ගම්නැද්ද මල්පල ගැන්වූ වගාර ගම්නැද්ද රට නගන ජන පවුර
ළමයින්ටත් අයිතිවාසිකම් තියෙනවා ළමයි පාරට බැහැලා